what's going on to it real quick. This live stream may or may not be for you, you know, but if you in this country legally, illegally, or have, family members and stuff like that that are affected by immigration and the policies of President Trump, then maybe this is for you. This is about President Trump. Yes. I just went to the bathroom and took a Trump. Wow. That is funny, drone worship. I will send you that address. I just wanted to verify that the email address was you. That's why I didn't send the address right away. But now that I know it's you, I can send the address. I can send it to you anytime. But anyway, it's, in the words from Twitter, Jake Tapper, to be precise, the new Trump policy, which started in April, is zero tolerance for illegal border crossings, including by asylum seekers, which results in automatic prosecution, which results in hundreds, if not thousands, more families being separated. You know, yes, 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 yes. It's all good. So, um, it's a lot of people up in arms. There's Democrats, there's Republicans. There's folks saying, for this halting for the separations of families and stuff like that. And it's kind of interesting considering, election time, midterm elections, and other folks' seats are up and whatnot, and just trying to figure out the political future. In 2019 and 2020 is around the corner, so it's going to be some changes, some shifting, some flipping, and things of that nature. I mean, why is this important to anybody? Why is this important for Mel Mel to talk about at this particular moment in time as it pertains to immigration? Because there's so many people that are affected by this. I have family, friends, or other people that I may not really talk about, that have been affected by stuff like this. Maybe you're married to somebody, like that. Maybe what's going on, Precious Kitten Gaming. Thank you for coming through. I don't know. I'm torn because at one point you say, okay, it shouldn't be allowed to come into the country illegally. What's going on? I don't know if I'm the number one live streamer, but I am live streaming right now, and I'm talking about a sensitive subject and whatnot. Oh wow, it's Noble Girl Gamer. Well, okay, Precious Kitten Gaming. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. You changed the name. Nice name. I like that. I like the name. I like the other name, but I like this name too. Well, here's how I go with it. I'm torn with folks coming into the country illegally. Dude, that was the best Trump I ever took. Wow, funny. Yeah, I bet. I bet. Yeah, I'm not even gonna go there. Drop the like. I appreciate you for dropping the like. I appreciate you for watching as well too. As my thoughts on the immigration thing, Trump's newest policy as far as zero tolerance for asylum seekers, for children being in the country and stuff like that, families being separated, being here illegally, it's divisive. It's divisive because do you send everybody back? Do you say it doesn't matter who's who, what's what? And I'm not going to say people haven't taken advantage of the system. On the other end, other side of it, it is kind of divisive or whatever the case may be because there's a lot of people who may have come into the country illegally, but at the same time who have still become productive citizens or gotten their immigration status legally. I guess after coming in illegally, if that makes any sense. So it is a situation where folks can be torn about it. Politically it doesn't look good. Morally there's some ethical issues that go along with it and whatnot, and whether folks should be separating and tearing families apart. The question is, do you send the whole family back? Do you just say, okay, if you came here illegally and you had kids here, whether they're American citizens or not, do you ship them back to Mexico or Lebanon or whatever? Yeah, good night. Whatever country they come from. It's a really divisive situation. Um, it says Melania Trump weighs in on her husband's cruel policies. Um, where are you? What does she have to say? I feel like this country forgot what Statue of Liberty stands for. By the way, it's given us a very good purpose. Do you know what that is, Mel? Let me know what that is. Please tell me what that is, drone worship. I'm interested in what you're saying. People were waiting for Donald Trump's wife, what is it, Ivanka to say something, or Melania to say something. But let me see. Miss Trump hates to see children separated from their families and hopes both sides of the aisle can come together to finally achieve successful immigration reform. She believes we need to be a country that follows all laws, but also a country that governs with heart. I don't know what that means, but it sounds like she took the high road in it or took the political stance, a very political, diplomatic answer. Nation of immigration drones. Funny. And wasn't it a gift to remember correctly? What's going on, Size Dad? Thank you for coming through. When it comes to immigration, it is probably one of the most divisive issues that we face in this country today. You know, some people are mad at the immigrants that come into this country and get advantages and bring, family members in and come and grow and prosper and stuff like that. It's kind of crazy, But on the flip side, it is like 009 was saying, Fury 009, we are a nation of immigrants. This country was founded off of people who weren't born here, people who come from other situations, political asylum or, I don't know, war, pestilence, genocide, who've come to this country and, tried to make a name for themselves and just try to make a living. Trump does not hold up to our values as a country, we should stand for and what the Statue of Liberty stands for. Well, there's a lot of people that would definitely make that argument, definitely make that argument, but, it's like, what is this all about? Is it about money? Is it about Trump trying to, actually, stand for what it is that he's, doing politically? I mean, if you look at it from a devil's advocate point of view, is he totally wrong? I'm not saying he's right in the situation, but it comes down to a situation about, as far as following laws and rules and stuff like that. I know some people may not feel like this is a popular stance to take or whatever the case. I mean, I don't personally agree with him, but at the same time, you do have the flip side of it. What about the laws? And then you have the people to say, well, what about the families? Does anyone actually know who erected the Statue of Liberty and why it was put up in the first place? Let us know. Enlighten us. Where's my wall? I have no idea, Scott King. I haven't seen you in a while, so I'm surprised that you're actually here. But thank you for being here. Where's your wall? Funny. I caught that, but you got to ask your president where your wall is. I have no idea. But please enlighten us, drone worship, on the Statue of Liberty, if you will, for those folks that don't know. But I don't know. It's just when it comes to this whole issue and Trump and zero tolerance. I don't know. It's just kind of crazy. Your horse surrounding your house. That's funny. Yeah, that's I guess that's where your wall is. It's probably surrounding your house. I don't know. It's just an issue I struggle with because at the same time I get it, but we are a nation of immigrants, so it's like without the people that you're trying to keep out of here, it's not possible to have the country that we have. It's not a country to have the country that we've built and continue to build. So you do need people from all walks of life, and things of that nature to be able to come through, to be able to grow and whatnot. Maybe it's something wrong with our system in general. We have a broken system in general as it pertains to immigration, as it pertains to our laws, our justice system, and things of that nature. So it's not like, if you stop people from coming into the country, illegally, that you're going to fix all the problems, that exist and whatnot. He was good in The Apprentice. I like when he was trying to get a Lil Jon a job. That's funny. So people liked him when he was trying to get Lil Jon a job. Yeah. Um, yeah, I was thinking of Touchdown, but anyway, it was a gift from France and it stands for freedom. This is true. It was a gift from France, and it stands for freedom for immigrations or immigrants. Yes, it was a gift from France. It wasn't an original. It wasn't an original thing of American American creation. No, it was not. You can go a bit off topic. Fury 009. It's nothing like that. Bit of a touch. Just wanted to tell you you'll like season 2 comes out. My bad. Well, I didn't. You want to know if I like Luke Cage season 2? I'll let you know. I mean, I'm gonna watch it. We'll see what happens with that, but that's just off topic. Right now, I'm just talking about immigration. I'm a true killer. Believe this. Know that now. I don't know if that was a freestyle rap. I don't know if that was a statement. I don't know if that was all three. But bars. Because we're a nation of immigrants, we should all go back to where we came from, and the statute of limitations means nothing. Well, yeah, you got a point there. No, I don't agree. We should all go from wherever which we came. Yeah, Scott spitting those bars. But it's kind of crazy because it's like, what are we protecting? I mean, when people talk about immigration and stuff like that, you forget about the Native American Indians, you forget about land that was taken from Mexico, in wars and stuff like that. There's territories, parts of Texas and California, that once have belonged to Mexico. So it's kind of crazy. It's like, do you just erase the history and stuff like that? A country that was built by slaves. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot of convoluted things when it comes to the history of America. Now, don't get me wrong. I love America. I love being from this country. Fascinating country, great country. A land of opportunity, so to speak. Like my dad, like this kid is hesitant, but it was first thought. That's interesting. That's interesting. But thank you for sharing that, Crimson Fantasy. I don't know drone worship, but it is a situation that's not going away. Because there are people who are threatened by folks coming from other countries. We have enough problems with each other in our own country, dealing with people, issues of white, black, brown, Asian, or whatever the case may be, discrimination, equality, inequality, women's right to work, the reproductive rights, all kind of stuff like that exists. So when it comes down to it, we have a whole host of issues to deal with. I mean, dealing with immigration is going to be a monster in itself, because the reality is that people are coming from countries that are war torn, or situations that are dire, or there's a situation where abuses and stuff like that comes. In all honesty, people love the idea of America not so much as the history of it, even though there is some good there, but there's bad, really, really bad. Yes, there's really bad issues and situations from the history of America that we could talk about and definitely do a whole other live stream in. But there's good and bad and ugly everywhere. Yes, it's true. It's true. But when it comes to immigration, it does, stain of the hypocrisy. When you look at different countries, when you look at different places, or whatever the case may be, because when you have a land that's built by immigrants, what do I'm saying, like, how do you justify that? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I'm not saying you just open the floodgates and just let everybody in and do whatever they want, because, conversely, or, in contrast, when you look to Mexico, it's not like a whole bunch of Americans can just, rush towards, the Mexican border and start to illegally try to get into Mexico and, take over and really do what it is, you know what I'm saying? I mean, the reality that nobody wants to deal with, is that there's a lot of corruption, politically, or on the level or drug level, cartels, and different neighborhoods and stuff like that, gangs out there that cause this stuff to be, like that, to where people feel like they should come through. Rose Kitchen, what's going on? Thank you for coming through. Appreciate it. And I hate how when people bring up the immigration issue, that nobody wants to address the corruption or the negativity that's going on in that country. I mean, nobody wants to go there and try to help and fix the problems. At least I don't see that. Yeah, here you go. Don't collect $200. But there's issues that's going on within the country of Mexico that people bypass, and they say, well, okay, just leave them in their country and just let them die, or let them go through it. It's impossible to justify hypocrisy. The only thing to do is to try to patch and new solutions for the issue. Yes, but see, that's the problem. Politically, morally, financially, a lot of people just don't want to deal with the issue, until they have to face it. A lot of people sweep it under the rug. Yeah, they do, Crimson Fancy, and that's probably one of the issues or one of the problems when it comes to immigration, is that we sweep it under the rug and we act like, hey, if you just ship the people back to Mexico, then that's going to solve all the problems. And it's not, or if you ship the people back to whatever country they come from, it's not, because, as human beings, you want to know that there are other human beings that care about you in the world, even if they don't come from your country, even if they don't come from your background, even if they don't share the same values that you do, or the same religion, or whatever the culture you do. We are all human beings, and nobody should have to grow up in a corrupt, divided, war-torn, drug-infested, country or neighborhood, or whatever the case may be. And I'm not saying, Mexico is a drug-infested, country or whatever, but there are issues out there in certain parts, that do cause people to say, hey, you know, this is an issue. Like, because it boggles my mind how people, say stuff about immigration and whatnot, and people coming from Mexico, but then, when it's time for spring break, Cancun, Mexico is one of the first places you go, and then you want to go to the resort locations out there and whatnot, and you can be in their country and have a good time, but then when they try to come here and try to make a better life, it becomes an issue. So it's hypocrisy that exists within the conversation, and I think it's not really, it's not really dealt with, in a way that it should be. I mean, I just feel like, it's not something that should just be swept under the rug. It's not something that should just be ignored. It's not something that should just be a one size fits all, a zero tolerance thing where you just ship somebody back and say that's what it is. Because then you remember that you have these kids now who are growing up in this country, orphaned or alone or growing up with relatives or whatever, they have a sense of disdain towards the country now, and you're creating a situation that's gonna be dealt with or have to be dealt with as they get older. So it's interesting. It's really interesting. I'm not saying people should be allowed to come into the country illegally, but it is a situation where it has to be dealt with differently. Maybe if we spent some time actually trying to go to Mexico and deal with the government and deal with the corruption and the cartels and the drugs and stuff like that, and really let people know, some things. In Canada, I have a friend that had their family separated. He had to get deported, and his brother, but his mom and dad stayed. That's crazy. That's insane. But it comes down to it. I mean, if you want people to stay in their countries, if you want people to, really, grow and prosper, and not have to take on the resources of an immigrant land or nation or whatever the case, why not go to their country and help them rebuild? Why not give them some of the resources? Why not teach these people? Why not really go there and actually try to do some real, what do they call it, community building? And even if they ship them back, they can still come back after going through a process legally. So it's kind of a waste of money and time to ship them away if it's not solving the problem. Yeah, it's not solving the problem. So, you know, I mean, if you ship them back legally, then legally, I guess they'll learn and know whatever it is that they need to know to come back into the country. But I guess you're trying to limit the process or whatever the case may be. The reality is people are coming to this country because they need help, or maybe they want to take advantage, whatever it is. They're looking for opportunity. It's true. Education is the key, and then they can adapt. Yeah, I mean, but it doesn't help, if folks just turn a blind eye to the situation. And I know this is not a popular thing. I know folks don't want to hear a lot about this. They say, why is this man, talking about immigration or whatever the case may be, because it affects so many people. It affects the community. It affects, folks that, really add to society, add value, or whatever the case may be. And what is going on? The man who refused to die, I was waiting for him. I was waiting for him. We're talking about Donald Trump's zero tolerance immigration policy, sir. And I had some controversial thoughts on this zero tolerance immigration policy. Yes, I did, Patch. It is a situation where I'm torn. Actually frozen. If you get deported, you cannot come back for 5 to 10 years. Wow, that's crazy. That is crazy. You could be dead in 5 to 10 years. Um, man, you could, wow, 5, 10 years. So much, anything can happen in 48 hours. Imagine 4 to 5, 5 to 10 years. Like I said, you could just literally, lose your life or lose your whole chance. What if you're going to school? What if you started a business? What if you were in the process or in transit of coming in illegally, or turning that illegal status into a legal status? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, after those 5 to 10 years, you can still come back. That's my point. Yeah, you can still come back, but I'm not going to remain silent on this topic as it isn't my channel. Nah, you can speak your piece, Patch. I don't care, man. I mean, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be on, but you can speak your piece. As far as me bringing up the content or the subject matter, I'm not afraid. I mean, hopefully we can keep it respectful, keep it civil. I mean, even if it's something that you want to talk about on your channel, brother, I can end this live stream and we can go on your channel and talk about it. I don't care. Like I said, well, they should be deported. Those here illegally. Well, there's some people that believe that. I mean, that's why I said I'm torn. You have people that are here illegally that should be deported. I'm not gonna this or that. How about tomorrow night then? Yeah, nah, we could do something tomorrow night. I'm off tomorrow night. Just let me know the time. How many acres would that take? I have no idea, Scott King, but I know you're trolling and trying to throw a joke in there somewhere. But I'm not sitting here saying that folks should not be deported. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. And some people may say I'm flip flopping. I'm not flip flopping. I did say I was torn. I'm torn because you have people who do take advantage of the system, and even if they take advantage of the system, their kids that are being torn from their parents and of no fault to their own are being used as pawns in the game. It's not a black and white issue. Yes, it's not, and that's why I'm careful with it, because people say you should just be on the side of deportation. Other folks say you should be on the side of not separating families. Sometimes it's not that black and white. It is a shade. It's shades of gray. Shades of gray. No whips included. No whips and chains. You know what I'm saying? This is 100 shades of gray. You want to buy 100 Scott King, you got 100 shades of gray right now. Like I said, because you have the children of no fault of their own Then when you look at it on a deeper level, you say, what are you shipping them back to? What are you sending them back to? A war-torn, corrupt, government that wasn't really helping them? What happens if you ship them back and then in 24 hours, 48 hours, they're dead? What happens if they were fleeing away? I say it's my country. Well, that's what it is. Hey, hey, Scott King, I didn't know. Now I know. But the thing is, it's a touchy issue because people on both sides of the issue, it's important to understand that lives are affected either way. So if you do have people coming into the country illegally, yes, it does affect the economy because now you have more low paid, low skilled workers, or not low skilled workers, but you're having more low paid, undocumented workers inside the economy willing to undercut a lot of different people. So it does hurt, in that way, and then it's taking opportunities away from some other people, whether they want to take those jobs or not. The reality is, there's a lot of American citizens that don't want to do those jobs that a lot of the undocumented workers do. But what happens when we don't take care of our own here, but take care of all those breaking the laws? No, definitely, you got a point there. That's a great question. What happens when you do that? When you do that, you create an imbalance. My wife's folks have to come here illegally. They cannot get on and sorts of benefits. But yeah, well, I mean, it's a crazy situation. It's an unintended consequence that comes from that patch. But the reality is, some people know how to work the system better than others. That's the sad part about it is, there's corruption and whatnot. You gotta understand something. If you're coming from a corrupt nation, into another nation that may be corrupt, but corrupt in different ways or have issues in different ways, you know how to work the system. If you know how to survive in Mexico and work the system and get your way to America, then obviously you're going to know how to work the system here in America. As controversial as that is to say, some people just know how to work the system better than others. I hate to say that. I mean, like I said, maybe some folks may not like to hear that, but that's the truth. Some people know how to go within, and I mean, if you got here illegally, you obviously know how to, get in between the cracks, the crevices, and underneath the system. So of course, when it's time to sit there and get benefits, you're gonna know how to do that. I mean, it's not like we can go to Mexico and do that. The truth is the truth, good, bad, or indifferent. Yeah, the truth is the truth. But the reality is, Patch, is that people learn the system. And the sad part about it, if you want to talk real, a lot of the legals that come here sometimes know the system better than some folks that live here, is because they may care more about the benefits and things, the opportunities than we do. People that are here in this country. There's plenty of people here in this country that were born here, legal citizens and whatnot, that don't take the time out to learn the U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, to understand, the different amendments and stuff like that, to know, the state, local, state, federal laws, that don't really, understand the basic privileges of being American, or don't care about it. So then when you have people coming in from other countries, they look at it and say, oh, wow, they're not taking advantage of this, so I might as well take advantage of this, which is kind of crazy. I don't like to say it like that, but there's a lot of things we as Americans take for granted. We're here for a stat for you all. The illegals here are currently less than 60% actually have jobs. Well, this may be that may be something I have to check into. But I'll tell you this much: there are a lot of American citizens out here, who are legally born in this country, who do not take advantage of all that we have. The number fluctuates between states. I can imagine it fluctuates between states, and I don't dispute the number. The number could be what it is. I'm not saying that it's not. I'm just saying that there's some people who understand the opportunities better than folks that are born in this country. Just like if you have American citizens that go overseas, and they're in certain countries in Europe, or there's certain, countries in Africa or Asia or whatever, they may understand and know how to maneuver better than people that are from there. I imagine there are people that go to China that, are foreigners, that know how to maneuver better than people who are naturally born in the country, or in that region, or whatever the case may be. So it is something that, where we have, as American citizens, need to wake up and understand and see what's going on and be aware of our rights as citizens. A lot of people, you would be surprised how many people don't understand or are aware of their rights as citizens. And then you'll have somebody coming in who's illegal, may know more about the country than we do. And yeah, it's wrong for them to be here, and get, these advantages illegally. But it's wrong for us not to know what our advantages are and what our rights are and what they should and shouldn't do, our benefits or whatever the case may be. That's because people are born here take for granted the benefits of America versus people who aren't in America and a lot rougher to fight for tooth and nail for it. Yeah, I agree with you, Fury 009, and that's something that comes of it. So I'm not saying anything against Patch. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. You're saying, okay, these people who are getting the illegals are getting benefits and stuff like that, which that's not right, but I'm not saying it's the whole story. No, it's not the whole story, Patch. But at the same time, it's definitely a big part of it. It's definitely a big part of it. I'm not gonna sit here and say that there's not, some overlap. I'm not gonna paint, anybody coming in here and just, doing things illegally and making a way for themselves as the end all, the be all, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, and it is a general aspect. They're not getting things that born Americans cannot get. This is true. This is true. But at the same time, it depends on the matter of perspective of where folks are coming from. But it plays a role in what Mel says. Yeah, I'm not saying that I have all the answers. I'm not saying that I'm 100% correct in what I'm saying, Patch. But I'm saying that as American citizens, there's a lot we don't pay attention to. So when somebody else is coming in from another nation where they don't have these opportunities or these benefits, they may appreciate it more than we do because we're not having to fight and go through cartels and drug situations and crazy kidnappings and murderers and stuff like that, just to go to the store or just to live and go about our day. So these are things that folks go through. These are things where you have to have a gun and whatnot. They can do it the legal way. Well, it's not always that cut and dry. It's not always that cut and dry, Patch. I mean, you may say they can do it the legal way, but how do you do it the legal way when now you come into the country and they're telling you, okay, the immigration policies are so strict. The reality is people come in illegally because they know even if they try to go through it in the legal way, they will be denied because you can only allow certain people in. It's for the million a year we actually bring in legally. Yes, you're right. But the thing is, not everybody can get in. I mean, let's be real. Not everybody is going to get into this country, even if they try to come in legally. So what do? If you're somebody who doesn't want to wait and go through the process, what are you going to do? You're going to go illegally and take your chances. Be it you a child, be it you a middle-aged person, an elderly person, be it you have a tunnel, you're going to do the old El Chapo style. There's people that take the chance, take the gamble, take the risk. And the reason people have taken continue to take the gamble and the risk, well, let's be real coming here. It's not about right, it's a privilege. Okay, fine. You can go through privilege and right, but let's go into the real brass tacks of it. The reason people continue to do it, to come into this country illegally, is because, like me and you had this conversation before, Patch, people on both sides stand to benefit. There are people who have corporations and companies and money and influence who benefit from cheap work. There are people coming in who have little opportunities in their country, because maybe they don't want to sell drugs or become a part of the cartel or do negative things, and they decide they want to come into the country this way. Or there may be gang members that try to infiltrate and come in through. You know what I'm saying? It's an example of born poor as well. Hold on. It is just an example of who are born poor as well in America who grew up in gang violence versus someone who's coming from Iraq in the war. That's an interesting way of putting it, but I think that might be a stretch of Fury 009. I think it's an issue of where people come from and stuff like that as well. But I think it's also a thing of people keep doing it because it's something that many people have benefited from on both sides, be it the cheap labor, be it the opportunities that are afforded to people, who have become productive citizens. Because you say the first generation, you come in illegally as a first generation immigrant from whatever country, and then all of a sudden you have kids, and then your kids become successful and they have homes and they build a family here. People have done that. So that's what it is. And my point is that this is where our criminals pause and people are lazy. They cannot keep allowing them more illegals coming in, otherwise would be left behind. I mean, people have made that argument to where if we keep allowing, people to come in of a certain type of caliber, lesser caliber or character, it can bring the country down and stuff like that. I mean, that's possible. That's definitely possible. But, that goes to our system of justice anyway, too. I mean, if we have a broken justice system, that's something that, it's hard to address as well, because what do you do with these folks when they, go through our justice system? And even if you take immigration aside, we have issues in this country, when it comes to, black and white or black and brown, or how, police, poor neighborhoods, poor lower income neighborhoods and stuff like that. So if therefore anything speaking of place having money. Well, I mean, yeah, I can understand where you're coming from, Patch, but there's also issues of race that come into it. There's racial issues of inequality and discrimination that come through. So it's a multi-layer thing. This is not just a black and white situation. It's not just, hey, ship them all back, hey, get rid of them all. You can do that, but it will have ripple effects. Yeah. It could be that Scott King. It could definitely be that Scott King. It's a challenging situation, Patch, because like I said, I'm not gonna sit here and say, it's not a rough issue. Okay, well, I love you. Sorry, man. I don't want to catch my video, but okay. But you're one of those people I always try to make because I see you, I love your content and what you 100%. Thank you, Garrett Outdoors. It's been a while, but I haven't forgotten about you. I remember some of those days when we had those live streams, the hashtag sexy parties, Dark Matter. I remember you. I remember you for those. It's impossible to get rid of all the criminals, but we can't get the numbers back since it's good and evil in the world. Well, if you want to go there, Fury 009 and Patch and everybody, it's at the core. At the core, it's issues of humanity, morality. Is it okay? Is it justified to turn your back on your fellow man, regardless of what it is? But Dark Matter's put up a video, but yeah, I don't want to get into his personal business. But Dark Matter's around. You could definitely check him out. Shout out to Dark Matter. We love you, appreciate you. Hopefully you're okay. But he's put up a video. He's definitely put up a video. He's definitely around. But shout out to Dark Matter out there. Peace and love to you. Shout out to a lot of folks out there and whatnot. But and Patch, Fury 009, Garrett, a lot of people. I'm not trying to take any particular one side. I'm not trying to force anybody to take any one side. This is all relevant. It's really just back to what Fury 009 said. This, or no, Crimson Fantasy said. This is not a black and white issue, because on one end you can deport certain people. Like for me, I'll say this. I'll say this unequivocally, and I think we all can agree on this. All of the criminals should be deported. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. No, there's all discussion, no pressure. I mean, I think one of the shames is that we have so many criminals who are illegally here that are not being deported and get out of the country. But for some reason, that can't happen quick enough. I don't know. And it's funny because how it goes is, when you try to deport certain criminals back, Mexico's like, however they got there, they got there. So that creates a situation. Me personally, if you want to focus on deporting anybody, any violent offenders, anybody, with drugs or guns, killing, sexual things, you should be deported right away. Go back to your country, But then there's the ethical concerns behind that. Do you just send these killers, murderers, and rapists back to the country to rape, murder, and pillage their own people? So it's not as black and white as it may seem. It's really not. Because you find yourself trying to extract justice on, somebody else's problem from another country, so it gets deep, Well, that depends on when you bring up humanity plus justice into a situation that is going on with all this. Yeah. I mean, but humanity is a big part of this Fury 009. I mean, to try to escape humanity in the whole immigration issue, and how it works out is foolish. It's foolish to try to escape the humanity of it. And the definition of justice is complicated. Yes, well, the definition of justice in any country is complicated, especially here in America, because if we want to talk justice, the justice system, me being a black man in America, I can tell you the justice system has a whole lot of work to do. And that's not to try to throw shade or shots at anybody. That's just the reality. Whether you rich, whether you poor, whether you black, whether you white, whether you gay, whether you straight, whether you Muslim, whether you Catholic, yes, frozen, the definition of justice varies from country to country. Justice ain't really blind. Yes, that's what you find out, game over. You find out justice ain't really blind. And even as it pertains to immigration, because you'll have certain people getting deported when it comes to certain countries, and other folks allowed to stay because maybe you're coming from a less violent country, or maybe your country has more natural minerals, or maybe your country politically has a great relationship with the U.S. But now you turn over to Mexico and say, because those folks are brown and poor and they don't have a whole lot of resources that we can use, ship them out. It could get really political. But the underlying issue isn't a racial thing, it's a class thing. Yes, I agree. It could definitely be a class thing, but at the same time, to pretend like this is not political, to pretend like it's just a cut and dry issue about people coming in illegally, is a misnomer, is a red herring. This is a bigger issue than just, okay, they came here illegally and they shouldn't be here. Believe me, if it was an issue where it was definitely detrimental and no benefit to the U.S. at all, it would have stopped. It would have stopped. It starts at the top. Some people say it starts at the top. Some people say it starts at the bottom. But wherever it starts, it's somebody benefiting. Follow the money. Anytime you look at situations like this, you want to say immigration, corruption, or whatever, trickles down, however you want to say it, game over, follow the money. Who stands to gain on both sides when you look at Mexico, or you look at any other South American or even Middle Eastern country, wherever somebody's coming illegal, illegal from, deep state and globalists. I mean, I don't know if I want to go deep state. It's only a red herring if you look at the past law into the morality of the human aspect. If you follow the law, they should all be going back. Well, if you follow the law, yeah, you should be. They all should be going back. But here's the problem with the letter of the law. If you go, but yes, it's extremely corrupt. It's corruption on the U.S. side. It's corruption on the Mexican side. Because let's just say that's really who we're talking about. Really, I mean, it seems like, what is Mexico the only country where immigrants should be going back to? Like I said, let's be real. You know what I'm saying? But for some reason, this is the main country, I guess, or whatever. And it's kind of funny. Are the Mexicans the only ones? Yeah, you say send them all back, but the main people that folks want to send back is people from Mexico. I mean, because if you look at it, are the Mexicans the only ones? You know what I'm saying, that are benefiting and really getting jobs and opportunities and stuff like that. Not to say I want to, go after any other places or whatever the case. Send the English back. Yeah, you gotta send the English back, and then you gotta send the Africans back, and you gotta send the Italians back, and you gotta send the Arabians back. You gotta send them all back. Like I said, and let the native Indians take back over the land. Let us do that now, if that's the case. The biggest issue with Mexican illegals is rather simple. They are the ones who refuse to assimilate. Well, it's not so much about assimilation, because you have people who don't ever assimilate. You have people who come here, and that's just what it is. It's not English, it's the English. I don't think it's so much about assimilation. I think it's about obeying the laws. I say go home or come back in 90 days. Yeah, I bet you would say something like that, Scott King. I don't know, but that's funny. A lot of people would take going home and coming back in 90 days. Yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from with it, Patch and whatnot. But the thing is, a lot of times if you follow the letter of the law in this country, if you really follow the letter of the law, then there's gonna be a lot of us that be dead, that be locked up. That'll be, you know, um, deported. Saying all kind of stuff. If you follow the letter of the law, and not all laws here are just, not all laws here are moral, not all laws here, whatever constitutional. So now you go into the constitutionality of it. So how constitutional is this and whatnot? At least it would be fair, unlike how it is now. Well, I mean, it depends on your perspective of what it is, on what fair is. It depends on what your perspective of fair is, Patch. I mean, some people would say it is fair. Some people would say it's unfair, depending on your viewpoint or your definition of what fair is. I mean, everybody has different ways and perspective of looking at things. That's what makes it so murky, so much of a shade of gray. That's what makes it to the point where, like even Melania Trump was saying, yes, I believe in obeying the laws, but, it comes to, still, governing with heart. I'm paraphrasing. So, yeah, while you have the letter of the law, there's also the spirit of the law too. So what happened to the spirit of the law? What happened to what you should allow or shouldn't allow, or things of that nature? So it comes down to how harsh do you want to be? And then a lot of us say these things, but what if it was our family members? What if it was one of your family members, Patch? What if you had a family member who all of a sudden got with somebody who was an illegal immigrant, and they had a grandchild, and you love this grandbaby, you love this grandbaby, and now all of a sudden, because of the laws, that father or mother, whoever, has to get deported. What I'm saying? Those supporting the hippie movement, of open borders say sanctuary states are fair. Those who want prosperity for those born here will claim it isn't fair. Well, there are people on both sides of those arguments and whatnot. I mean, me personally, I say it's a combination, a balance of the two. It's, you have to find some common ground. How do you balance the two? There's obviously there are people that should be deported. Obviously, there are people that should stay. Everybody shouldn't stay. Everybody shouldn't be deported. It is what it is. Hey, John and Amber, I've seen you all around. I've seen you all around. This is maybe the third or fourth live stream I've seen you on, but I appreciate you for coming through here. This is an intense live stream. I didn't expect it, but it's, yes, it's game over. It's a case by case basis. I don't think that you can put a one size fit all. Differences under the current protections, the illegals that had years to work on becoming citizens, but they opted not to do it for 20 years. Well, yeah, that is a problem. I'm not gonna sit here and front with you, Patch, like that's not a problem. If you had 20 years to work on becoming a legal citizen and you chose not to, and now you're worried about being deported illegally, that's kind of crazy. Thank you for showing the love and support. I appreciate it. Everybody, shout out to John and Amber. Check out the John and Amber Homestead Projects. You get a chance. Awesome folks, cool people, they're very down to earth. You know what I'm saying? Definitely check out Patch, the man who refused to die. He's very controversial, but he has a lot of points, great points that he makes. He's not afraid to go there. As you can see, he's bringing out some passionate thoughts inside of me, which I always appreciate that for. Me and Patch always have great conversations. So why should I care about them remaining here and we have our own people who are homeless and mentally unstable to take care of? Well, why you should allow them to remain here, Patch, and that's a great question, is because you have the human aspect. If people begin to build a life and they're willing to actually, become productive citizens, then that's one thing. If they're going to take away from society and tear things down and all that other stuff, I don't care what country you're from or what background you're from, then it becomes, a problem. But if people are actually willing to become productive members of society and actually add and contribute, to society, most people don't realize. I think the guy who invented color TV was Mexican, if I'm not mistaken. I think the guy who invented color TV was actually a Mexican man, and you don't have to quote me on that, but I was watching them somewhere. So you have people from different countries who contribute, in vast ways. Not to say, oh, because you invented color TV, but people contribute to the society in different ways and stuff like that. So do you just throw that contribution away because of how they came here? We're supposed to be the land of opportunity, So I don't know, No, when they come to their chance to actually become citizens and continue to remain here legally, then cry that they were caught when they're doing so. Stop Molly calling them. It's what you say. I mean, you could say that, Patch, but it's not the case. I'm not mildly calling them. If you make a great father figure, they'll show you happy Father's Day to you. I don't know if I would make a great father figure, but thank you, John and Amber. Appreciate you for coming through. I definitely would have some deep conversations with my children. We might even be talking about immigration at some point. Who knows? But that would be a very interesting thing to have. Everything doesn't come from America. It comes from around this world, or doesn't come from. Okay, you did that. You retracted the statement. I don't know, Patch. It's just one of those things where it's not cut and dry, because where's the humanity? I wouldn't care if they were purple or from Mars, if they had protections in place in the country become legal citizens. They actually quicker than from their own countries. That's one way of looking at it, Patch. But the problem with what you're doing is you're not factoring in the human element. You're going after the letter of the law. You would probably make a great judge if you just went straight by the book, the law, a constitutional, lawyer or something like that, who just, you want to be law and order, you would be great for that. But the reality is that some of the laws and things down on the book or whatever requires heart, requires a little bit deeper introspection, a little bit deeper, thought process and whatever the case may be. He said, "Oh, awarded." Oh my God, game over. I wasn't trying to go there. Technetic Beats, appreciate you. Reply to your comment here. Pass. That's how you should care. Yeah. Um, that's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, it's definitely a heated discussion. It's definitely something that's not gonna go away. It's definitely something that's like, wow, yeah, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you and say it's not people that are here that should not be here. The protections are fracturing in the humanity, factor in the humanity of the situation. But if you continue to break the law, we do not try to become legal citizens. How is that my problem? Well, it is your problem in multiple ways. You have to deal with somebody who is illegally here, maybe taking away opportunities, or I don't know, making it hard for you emotionally. I don't know. I don't know, Patch. But at the same token, as a humanity, the bigger picture, the point is they should get going. No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't, depending on the circumstances. No, it's a case by case basis. I don't believe that just because you're here legally, you should just be banished because politically now it's in season, is in fashion. If you are going to try, if you aren't going to try to become a leader, then you shouldn't be here. Well, I could give you that one. We could come to a consensus on that one, Patch. If you're not going to at least try to become a legal citizen, then I say you should probably go. You shouldn't just be here illegally doing stuff in the shadows. Don't have yourself in the shadows. But then here comes the problem. Here comes the shade of gray. After you come out the shadows and say, "Hey, now I want to be here legally, and I got one up on you. I've been chilling for the last 20 years or so." Now you click the cuffs on somebody and you just send them back because you can. Especially if they already have been productive citizens or wanting to pay taxes or wanting to become a member of society that's really good. Because one of the back doors to that is that there's a lot of people who were undocumented or illegal or whatever who've joined the military and served the military. So now you have people who've come from other countries who have joined the military, served the military, fought and died for this country now, fought and died under all branches. So should that person now be deported because all of a sudden, they weren't born here, they came here illegally, but these are people who fought and died for our freedom. So it gets dicey. The kids should not be left without a parent. You're right. So it's kind of crazy. I want to see what John and Ann was saying. Before laws were made in the beginning, the birth of the United States, there was no such thing as illegal immigrants. I don't know what happened to America. America was built from people coming from here. Was built from people coming from here. Yeah, from other countries. Yeah, this is true. This is true, Amber and John. But somewhere along the lines, I guess we felt like, we had like what do you call it? I don't know. We cornered the market on something, on territory or whatever the case may be, land, whatever the case may be, and whatnot. And don't get me wrong, there should be a control. If you're going to let people in the country, there should be a control as to how it's done, which adds to the legal immigration issue. Yes, it does. When you see so many people live on the streets and in their cars and under the bridge and in the woods and the side of the freeway. Yes, let me go back and address that. Let me go back and address that. I have to address that because that is an issue with the homeless, and it's called sovereignty of country. Yes, um, I have to address that because issues of homelessness and inequality and stuff like that. It's close to my heart as far as that's concerned. Yes, it is a problem, but that adds to the shades of gray as well. So should people who are homeless, who are destitute, should they be dealt with first? Yes, they should. But then that comes back into the morality and the human side of the issue, which we have in the first place. You know, those people are destitute and homeless. Like many of them are in California. California is probably the worst in this country as far as homelessness, and New York is like closely behind. So when you look at stuff like that and you say, hey, we should deal with the homelessness situation in this country, yes, we should. It probably should be a top priority. But here's what happens: it's not, which speaks to the morality of the society that we live in. My girlfriend is doing a test on Facebook for 3 hours, and she's been on several times between them. What could it mean? Could mean she sleep, or whatever. Let me see what's it. If a text on Facebook for 3 hours, she's been on several times between them. She could mean she sleep. Could mean she's you know, bored. I don't know, tired. Whatever the case may be, I don't know. I don't know. You really have to wait and see. Maybe she's just a little annoyed or whatever. Hold on. Let me get back to this conversation. Why should we send illegals back when we lock up our own in prison for being homeless? Hypocrisy. Woof. Woof. Oh my God. Woof. That's a deep question, Fury Double O Nine. You trying to go for the jugular with that question. You trying to hurt somebody's feelings in this chat. See frozen. The actual numbers show 84% of those locked up are illegal. You could say 48%, but not all. Not all the folks are locked up are illegal immigrants because we lock up more people in this country than folks do on the planet. You got to understand that, Patch. You need to watch that Netflix documentary, The 13th Amendment. I think it was the 13th Amendment. You need to watch that. In this country, if you want to talk about hypocrisy, we lock up more people of color, right? Right? We lock up more people of color, whether they're illegal or illegal, than they do on the planet. You know, there's so many illegals in the states that are spewing into Canada every day, and we were accepting of immigrants we took, and 47,000 Syrian refugees. I heard about that. I definitely heard about that in 2016. I was homeless when I was a child and only became my father abandoned me. Sorry to hear about that. That's definitely a horrific situation to be in the midst of, you know. But there are hypocrisies that exist. I mean, that's why I said it's not a black and white issue because we go into morality, issues of morality, why these issues exist. Because yeah, that definitely does suck. Big business, prison industry. Yeah, that yeah, big business is the prison. Big business is the prison industry. So that comes into play as well. So for us to even be locking up illegal immigrants, there's a business inside of that too because there's a lot of cheap labor that comes from having people locked up in prison and stuff like that. Incarceration is a private industry, so that happens too. So again, that could be one of the reasons why you still have a lot of people in this country illegally. So just imagine, if you will, you have somebody in this country who's an illegal immigrant who's locked up in a state or a federal run facility, whatever, right? And they have nobody really checking for them or nobody that can do anything for them legally, but now you have this cheap labor that they can hold indefinitely. And then once you're done with them, you can say, hey, you're not going back to your family, at least not in this country. You got to go back to your country. I mean, she's been on Facebook for 3 hours that she never replied to me. It could mean she's getting tired of me. That could be the case. That could be the case that she's getting tired of you, but you got to give her time because if you smother her and don't give her space, then you'll push a person away. So you find out, you give her some space, if it's 3 hours or whatever the case may be, and then you just come back around the next time and see what happens. Ask the questions and be realistic and straight up. It could be a situation where a person just left their phone on or whatever, and they just logged in, never logged out. It could means that you were pushing her too much, so you to chill and let her hit you up. Yes, I agree with Patch. You might have to just let her hit you up because sometimes females don't like that when you constantly, replying and constantly trying to bug them. If a female doesn't reply to you, right away, sometimes they may need time, they may need space or whatever the case may be. So that's definitely something that you want to do. You want to respect the person's space. Let me take a sip of this water because I'm thirst. Well, I replied, then she replies, I know. I never, mother. Well, I replied, then she replies, I never replied. Smooth. Well, smother. That's crazy. I can't get to understand why people come to this country because their countries are horrible. Yes, this is true. With shape about to be in money ruins, and I met a legal immigrant here. She fled her country to took her. Okay, I agree with you on that, Amber. There are definitely opportunities and worth the risk. If I'm coming from a country where there's genocide, a child because of murder threats and upon her child, yeah, yeah, no, no, it's all good. It's all good. Nothing wrong with that. You know, just give it time, give it space as far as that with the messages and stuff like that. Don't force anything, don't push it, because you don't want to push the person away if you actually care about them. I don't know about the best relationship advice. I'm okay. I have a lot to learn myself. Mm, forgive me. That's a lot of water that's needed, and I really didn't plan on going an hour. Ooh, but it looks like I'm about to do another hour live stream. And now I got to thank Patch because you came in and you gave this an injection, a boost of energy and whatever. I love my creative spirit. Thank you for coming through. I appreciate you for being here. We were having an intense conversation via Patch. Patch came in here and he has some strong views. I've had some strong views, but it's also a dope conversation as always about Trump and his zero tolerance policy. It's kind of crazy. The immigrant I met, her husband and his family wanted her dead, so she left India to be in America where she is safe now. Hey, listen, I tell anybody, if you have to flee your country legally or illegally to avoid being killed, then you take those chances. You take those chances, and if they ship you back, before you get shipped back, you figure out how to, get yourself together. So if you got to go back, you ready to face the heat or whatever the case may be. All right, Technetic Beats, thank you for coming through. I appreciate your comments and everything, or whatever the case may be. You know how that goes. You know what I'm saying? It's much love to you. Peace. Trump train roll on. That's what it is. I don't know if you heard what Robert De Niro said about Trump. You probably don't like that. The issues are so much bigger than Trump if you want to get deep and real, hence why I don't pay attention to Trump or the mainstream media. Are the issues bigger than Trump? Yes, they are. They are bigger than Trump. But it is very interesting to try to see Trump tackle them and really, adjust to the changing landscape and, I guess be the candidate that he is, or the candidate or the president that he is. So, um, as crazy as it seems, if things stay as they are, I think the man actually is going to get reelected. Scary, but I think it's going to happen, and I don't know. Anyway, we'll see what happens. We got the Robert Mueller investigation or whatever the case may be going on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. De Niro did actually have some interesting words. I wouldn't have done what he did, but when he came out there and said it was kind of unprofessional and whatnot, but hey, he made his statement. Got a standing ovation about it, and that was that. If folks don't know what Robert De Niro did and what he said, you can Google that. Yeah, so that's what it is. YouTube tech where is basic beats. That's funny. Um, yeah, but for the most part, oh man, what are we gonna do with Trump? What are we definitely gonna do with Trump? What are we gonna do with this immigration issue? I mean, what are we gonna do? I mean, it's so many things that are on the table, so many things that are not going anywhere, going away. Maria Rita, thank you for coming through. Appreciate you for being here. You're coming at the tail end of a very interesting conversation. He got elected because the Democrats never showed up to vote for Hillary. They'll show up for this time and a decent vote for. Well, I mean, Impaler, maybe because the Democrats showed up the first time. It's just Hillary won the popular vote, and basically Trump won the electoral college. If you screwed testify, you say anything. Well, yeah, I mean, it happens that way, Scott King. Who knows? I mean, your folks got people behind the scenes. I mean, I ain't even gonna go there. But yeah, Impaler. It's a situation where Trump was good at actually, rallying, all of his supporters, and the Democrats probably wasn't as good. Maybe I'm saying the same thing that you're saying. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. Maybe Trump was better at rallying his people than the Democrats were. And that's just something I think he was taken for a joke. I think a lot of us took Trump for a joke. A lot of us didn't think that he would be president. I mean, if you look at the night that he was elected, I mean, he was even shocked and surprised. He even came out to his own admission and said, "I didn't think that I would be president. I thought she was going to win." I mean, that's crazy insane to me for him to say that. But it happened. So had a political outsider, a virtual unknown in the political sphere, actually become the president of the United States. Says what it says about the American people and the moment that we're in. It's a watershed moment here in America. It definitely is. So I mean, you deal with it for what it is. You learn the lessons that you need to learn. I mean, but you look at the alternative. Who are you going to elect in 2020? 2020 will be a landslide for Trump. I mean, it may be, because I mean, if you look at the other side, in 2020 when it comes to Trump, who do you have as a Democrat or even an independent, or Green Party candidate to run against him? I love how Canada is targeting economies in swing states important to Trump with the tariffs on trade. Well, listen, I'll tell you this. If the Russians were able to influence, the election, of Trump the first time, in 2016. Right? Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't the Canadians be able to influence, an election from the outside in 2020? Why not? I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm not saying it's a place we should go, but people have to remember that the Clintons actually spoke up against Benjamin Netanyahu when he was running, for prime minister back in his time. They had things to say. I mean, other folks, from this country had stuff to say about, different elections in different countries. I'm not saying that there's any, proof, any collusion, anything like that, but there's some things that happen to influence elections from other places. Russia didn't swing a single vote. I would debate that. I would definitely debate that, and there's a lot of intelligence agencies that would also debate you on that as well, but I mean, to each his own. Folks are entitled to their opinion. I mean, I guess, in the words of Pusha T, the rapper Pusha T, the only question is how the Russians did it. That's it. That's it. That's the only questions. I mean, we can sit here and debate all night. How did they do it? That's one of the greatest mysteries of the 21st century. How did they do it? Having an okay night. How's your night going? My night is going. It's going pretty decent. It's going pretty decent. Hopefully everything was with you. Hopefully you're recovering well, Rita. Maria Rita. Is that a cop out? Some people could say, you could say it's a cop out, but I don't know how they did it. I can't prove it. If I could prove how they did it, or didn't do it, I'd be a very wealthy man. I would be sitting here at live streaming from the Kremlin or something. I don't know. What I'm saying, or from the White House, or maybe from prison. I don't know, but I don't know anything. Just in case any intelligence agencies are watching, the feds, whoever else. Mel doesn't know a thing. I don't know a damn thing. So I'm good. Many states are embracing the illegal vote now. What do you mean the illegal vote? You have to explain, please. I need more clarification. It's all up in the spies and hired guns still. Well, I mean, you could say that. I mean, I don't know about spies and hired guns, but that's another world. That's the John Wick world. Throwing up that wick. I mean, I'm not trying to go the conspiracy theory route. I mean, I guess there are contract killers out there somewhere. Maybe I should have marked this mature. I don't know. But for the most part, it's kind of crazy like that. There's a lot going on in the world. Um, yeah, it's all the worst, but thinking okay, positive, and thinking happy thoughts to take my mind off it. Sorry that you got a little worse, Maria Rita. I mean, I'm, I know it's not easy dealing with issues with cardiovascular situations and whatnot. I appreciate you for being here. I mean, hopefully, any of the words, any thoughts, any prayers that I have can really help you in your situation. And really, I really do hope and pray that you, recover from, the heart attack that you suffered and whatnot. I know that must not be easy to deal with. I'm not going to pretend, on that matter. So it is that. You know, um, I don't know. I'm winding down because the reality is I got to get ready to get some sleep soon. I appreciate all you folks for being here. Like I said, I didn't plan on doing an hour live stream. I swear to you, this is going to be like a 20, 30 minute. I love how you, for the fact on how real you are. Well, appreciate that, Amber. I'm not as real as I would like to be, but I'm real. I'm trying to be real enough. Real enough. I'm just talking. I mean, I appreciate you folks for just coming through. I'm not right on everything. I don't always have all the answers. Sometimes I'm totally wrong. To want to stop by and say hi. Well, I appreciate you, Maria Rita, for coming through. Definitely, definitely. And I know it's crazy out there dealing with that situation. Or anybody needed a bowl of beans. I could use a bowl of beans right now, but the problem with too many, we eating beans sometimes, you could be fart too much. But beans are good for fiber and stuff like that, So, it helps. It definitely helps. Lentil beans are good too, But Maria Rita, try to eat healthy, try to think positive thoughts, prayers. Also go out with you and whatnot. Your family, your trying times, stuff that you're going through. It's not easy. It's not definitely not easy. But on that note, thank you, folks, for stopping. Love and peace to you.